Thank you very much. Let you know first off, I blush very easily. That was very flattering. Just know when that happens, it is a Fairfield shade of red every time I blush. And some advice to all you aspiring broadcasters, always write down your ad libs. First and foremost, I want to congratulate all of tonight's other inductees. So proud to share this night with Ann, with the family of Dr. Wayne Gibbons. What an inspirational tale that is. With Jeff and Anne Marie Nelson here for their son Tyler. What a privilege it was to cover his entire career here at Fairfield, the greatest scorer in the history of the Stags. To Ryan, congratulations to Paulina, and to members of the '98 Fairfield football team. And most especially to Gene Doris, my good friend and someone with whom I started out with on a professional basis and with whom I now share a very treasured friendship and relationship. I'm proud to have my name next to yours, Gene, and to all of you as part of this class of 2024. Little known fact, the first person whom I told in person that I was an expectant father back in 1984 was a Fairfield basketball player who would later become a Fairfield head coach. It was my first season as Stags radio broadcaster. I was on the team bus, and my late wife, Marcia, had told me before I left for that trip that she was expecting our first child. Tim O'Toole was sitting near me on that bus. Tim's never one to undersell anything. Told Tim he thought it was great news, had said something to the effect of, and this is the truth, he said, "I'm going to have 10 kids of my own someday." I think Tim made it to 3. The person I'm about to introduce is up to 4 and counting, and I want you to please say hello to that now almost 40-year-old, somebody who personifies my timeline here at Fairfield. My son, Stephen, is here. His lovely wife, my daughter-in-law, Allison, they made the trip all the way up from Ellicott City, Maryland to be here, along with my favorite team of all time. My 4 grandchildren are all here. Tabitha, Nate, Fiona, and the rookie, 7-month-old Tallulah. I know my late wife, Marcia, would have so enjoyed being a part of this night. She was a proud Fairfield mom, as I am, and connected to the school in many ways. Her parents had a home for 40 years, almost literally on the Fairfield campus, right over here on Deer Run, right off of College Park Drive. So my family spent, and Steve would remember this, spent many afternoons running around this campus after some big Thanksgiving meal or barbecue. We would then come run off those meals here on campus. So not only the emotional and professional attachment, it's almost a physical attachment that my family has to this school. My brother Kevin and my wonderful sister-in-law Donna made the trip up from New Jersey. Bloomfield, New Jersey's biggest Stags fans. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank my longtime friend Ross Fleckenstein, another very proud Fairfield parent. His daughter Lauren graduated from this school in 2022. She is soon to become Dr. Lauren Fleckenstein, now in medical school. Ross made the trip tonight from Michigan. Thank you for being here, Ross. And of course, the most important person in my life is my partner, Susan. I want to thank her for being there for me morning, noon, and night, putting up with all my sports craziness. She's a proud graduate of that other Jesuit university, Fordham. Loves her Rams, but she loves the Stags, right? Loves the Stags. They said I had 3 minutes. I think I've already used up the 3 minutes on the introductions. So I'm going to tell you about my Fairfield timeline. 3 phone calls. 1 I made, 2 that I received. Phone call number 1, fall of 1983. I had heard on the grapevine that the play-by-play announcer of Fairfield basketball was giving up the job. It was over a radio station called WNAB in Bridgeport. Now, I was a student at the University of Bridgeport, majored in broadcast journalism, called games at UB, big Fairfield fan. I go back to the 1973 NIT at the Garden, went to every game that year at the Garden. 1974 Fairfield NIT, the John Ryan, Ray Kelly teams. Love Fairfield basketball, loved the broadcast. I want that job. So what I did was I made a cold phone call to the newsroom at WNAB at 5 in the morning, which is usually just a rumor to me. I knew the news director, who was also the program director, and I said, I heard the Fairfield job might be opening. He said, yeah. He said, bring a tape down. So I took one of my demo tapes from my time as a student broadcaster. It was horrible, I'm sure. Showed up, played him the tape, and to be honest, I probably could have played him a tape of me reading the phone book. He didn't really care that much about sports. He said, yeah, you can have the job. You sound good. You can do it. That is the romantic tale of my start as a Fairfield broadcaster. Game number 1, November 25th, 1983, Fairfield versus Western Michigan at Michigan State University. That began run number 1 with the Stags, and that included not 1, but 2 MAC championships, 2 trips to the NCAA tournament. And I want to call out somebody. Mitch Bonagura was in the house tonight. One of the finest people I have ever known in this business, and Mitch, the thrills that I got from those teams on my first run are something that stayed with me forever. Phone call number 2, early 90s, followed my absence from the program. It could have become a permanent absence. My wife, prior to the start of the 1988 season, had asked if I could take a break from announcing Fairfield basketball. She had just given birth to my second son, Gary. And it was a time commitment, and she needed me around on weekends and nights, and I said, okay. I said, I'll give it up. So I stepped away from Fairfield basketball. And I was out of basketball broadcasting for a year, and I got a cold call, another one of those calls, out of the blue, Connecticut Radio Network. They asked me, would you be interested in doing UConn basketball? I said, that might be a good career move. My wife agreed, and I did it. And it was a good career move until the Connecticut Radio Network lost the rights to UConn basketball. Now I'm out of a job. I rebounded. I got a job at WFAN. Some of you may be familiar with the station, The Fan, and that kicked off a 30-year run at The Fan for me. So I moved on from UConn to The Fan, leads to phone call number 2. It's made by former Fairfield SID Vic DiCenzo. Took place in the winter of 1994. He knew I was around because of my work on The Fan, and he had a question. Would you be interested in broadcasting Fairfield games again? And to be honest, I wasn't sure if I could do it because of the time commitment. I was juggling several jobs, and I had to think about it, but I said, yeah, I'm back in. So there I was, January 9th, 1995. I remember like it was yesterday, and this is verbatim truth. I was standing in a mostly empty parking lot in Loudonville, New York, in front of the Alumni Recreation Center. It was Fairfield at Siena. I'm way down by all this heavy radio equipment by myself. And I said, what the hell did I just get myself back into? And the answer came 3 hours later. Scott Satulik hit a game-winning shot at the buzzer. Fairfield beat Siena. I had this adrenaline rush, and I said, yup, just when I thought I was out, they dragged me back in again. Which leads to phone call number 3. I'm close to 1,000 broadcasts now. So a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Believe me, many, many, many more highs than lows. Certainly the 1997 MAC championship, the trip to the NCAA tournament stands out when we almost should have upset North Carolina. which would have been the first time at 16 took out a 1. Almost happened. But Gene talked about this, and I echo it. Forget being close to 1,000 broadcasts. Forget even the basketball moments. For me, the most important thing, the countless, hundreds of friendships, relationships that I've made with players, with administrators, with media buddies, with coaches. I have been so lucky with every single coach I have worked with here at Fairfield, most recently with Chris Casey. Chris, you are the best, and you epitomize everything I've ever experienced with Fairfield coaches. Genuinely great people. One other shout out, he couldn't be here tonight. It's a friendship that truly stands out, and you'll know the name. My broadcast partner, Joe DeSantis, is on, as they say, another assignment. But for the past 17 years, I've had the good fortune of being paired with the greatest Stag basketball player of them all, two-time Hall of Famer. I'm mostly flattered by the fact that when people refer to our broadcast, it's not Bob, it's not Joe, it's always Bob and Joe. Bob and Joe. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. And I'll be looking very much forward to being back with Joe tomorrow when Fairfield beats Quinnipiac. All right, phone call number 3, made to me on December 7th. I'm an emotional person, so if I get a little choked up, understand. One of the reasons I can be a good broadcaster at times is because I can convey the emotion. So I was quite rendered speechless when I got this call. That guy, Jack Jones. Thanks, Jack. He's the one that let me know I was going into this. That's the foxhole guy. Let me tell you, everybody needs a foxhole guy. That's my guy right there, Jack Jones. I think I'm emotional now. Wait till where I go with this. I want to thank President Nemec. Thank you very much for this night. Paul Schlickman. Zach Dayton couldn't be here, but Zach, the administrators I work with are incredible. Drew Kingsley, the new SID. I want to thank the Media Center giants, Casey Timoney and Dave Brzezinski. I don't believe they're here, but I'll tell you what they did for me. They opened the door for me to mentor so many young Stags broadcasters. These guys were kids, adults now, who are friends. One of them's here. Where's the guy with the camera? Where's Ivy? Ivy Spate, one of my proteges, the hardest working guy in show business. One of the guys I was allowed to mentor. I want to thank the fans. I see George Carfoyle here. George epitomizes what I envision when I broadcast a game. The fans are why anyone who does what I do for a living, that's why we do it. For people like George or anybody here who follows the sport, whatever sport it is, if you're a broadcaster, you're who we're speaking to. And the trick in the business, they say, is make it as if you're always broadcasting to that one person. So it could be a George Carfoyle, it could be anybody, one person. If you can connect with them, you've done your job. And it's been my honor to do it for Fairfield fans for the better part of 40 years. All right, I'm going to wrap things up by telling you about another Heussler. And this is a joyful night, so I'm going to try and keep it that way. It's Gary, my son, class of '09, Fairfield grad, rugby player, and a scientist, which is really all you need to know about Gary. This was a rugby player, elected Phi Beta Kappa here in '09, went on to have a great career as a scientist. And We lost him in 2022. Not a good day. Let me tell you why this is a great day. This is a great day because January 27th, 2024, I can dedicate my small place in Fairfield history to him. So, with that said, let me again say this is a night of joy. And I know Gary is smiling and he's laughing. He's probably having a beer, toasting me. He would toast all of you. So I will leave it at that. And I will also say thank you very much for making this all possible. And go, Stags.